The night my stepfather crossed the line. Shadows of suspicion. I still remember the night clearly. It was a night that changed everything. Growing up, my life was far from perfect. My stepfather, Marcus, was a charismatic and enigmatic man. He came into my life when I was 14 after my mother married him following years of being a single parent. At first, Marcus seemed like a blessing. He provided stability, comfort, and a sense of security that had been missing from our lives. But as I grew older, I began to notice cracks in his facade. By the time I was 19, I had blossomed into a young woman, attending college and working part-time to support myself. Marcus had always been friendly, almost too friendly, but I never thought much of it. Until that night. It was a cold December evening, and my mother was hosting a dinner party for some of her colleagues. As usual, Marcus played the perfect host, charming everyone with his wit and humor. I watched him from a distance, sipping on a glass of wine, noticing how his eyes lingered on me a second longer than they should have. As the night progressed, the guests began to leave one by one. My mother, exhausted from the evening, retired early to bed. Marcus and I were left alone to clean up the mess. "You looked stunning tonight," he said, his voice softer than usual, as he handed me a dish to dry. "Thanks," I replied, feeling a strange tension in the air. The line is crossed. We continued tidying up in silence, but I could feel his eyes on me. Finally, he spoke again. "You know, you remind me of your mother when she was your age." His words sent a chill down my spine. There was something in his tone, something forbidden. I tried to laugh it off, but the unease lingered. Then it happened. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You're special," he murmured. I froze, unsure of how to react. The air between us grew thick with an unspoken tension. "Marcus, this isn't right," I said, stepping back. But he didn't step away. Instead, he leaned in closer. "I can't help how I feel," he said. My heart raced as I realized the gravity of the situation. This was no longer just a misunderstanding. He had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. I pushed him away and ran to my room, locking the door behind me. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions: shock, fear, anger, and disbelief. How could he do this to my mother? To me? I spent the night in turmoil, wondering whether I should tell my mother. Would she believe me? Or would she think I was trying to sabotage her marriage? The next morning, I decided to confront him. I found him in the kitchen, casually sipping his coffee, as if nothing had happened. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. He looked at me with a calmness that made my skin crawl. "About last night?" "Yes," I said firmly. "It was wrong. You betrayed my mother, and you betrayed me." He smirked, as if amused by my anger. "You're overreacting," he said. "It was just a moment of weakness." But I knew better. This wasn't just a moment. It was a crack in the foundation of our family. Part 5. The Revelation. Unable to keep the truth hidden, I decided to tell my mother. At first, she was in denial, accusing me of misinterpreting the situation. But as I recounted the events of that night, the color drained from her face. Marcus tried to defend himself, but the damage was done. My mother kicked him out of the house that very day. Part 6. Moving forward. The aftermath was painful. My mother was heartbroken, and our family was left in ruins. But in the end, I knew I had done the right thing. I had exposed the betrayal and protected both myself and my mother from further harm. The experience taught me a valuable lesson about trust, boundaries, and the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it's difficult. This story explores themes of betrayal and forbidden boundaries with suspense and emotional depth.